Hello, and congratulations for making it onto a law journal. My name is Eric Dye, and I am your Lexus rep here at Notre Dame. What I'm going to do today is give you some really helpful information on how to use Lexus to make sure that you get a note that you're able to publish at the end. So before I jump into those tips, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I come to you by way of having attended UC Davis Law School in Northern California, where I was on the Journal of Juvenile Law and Policy. I then served as an attorney to the California State Legislature for 5 years, where I drafted bills and legal opinions in a nonpartisan role. And then I clerked for 2 state court judges in the state of Michigan before starting my role at Lexus at the end of 2015. So the purpose of today's workshop is to show you how to use Lexus Advanced to get started in writing a note. I will do this by going over the 3 following things. 1, we'll talk about some preliminary considerations to take into account when picking your note topic. 2, I'm going to go over some helpful searches you can use on Lexus Advanced to help you actually pick your note topic. And then 3, I'll give you a brief overview of preemption checking just to kind of give you a preview before we actually meet one-on-one to do the preemption checking. And the payoff will be that you will have the tools you need to create a publishable and quality work product. Hopefully this sounds like a good and helpful plan to people. So let's go ahead and get started. So first I just want to address the type of documents that may be written for a law review or journal. They typically are either a comment or a note. A comment is an article on one particular case and the impact that case has on an area of law. A note is usually a little bit longer and more involved, and it focuses on a current legal controversy. And a note is actually what you're going to be writing for the review. So we're just going to go over notes and how to pick a note topic as opposed to a comment topic. But just thought I'd throw that out there because those terms get used quite a bit, and I wanted you to know what I'm focusing on today, and that is a note. So as you're picking your note topic, there are some things to keep in mind. 1, you want to make sure you choose a topic that interests you because you're going to be spending a lot of time writing this note. And if it gets published, you will be talking about this topic for the rest of your legal career. Because you can imagine you're going to put this in your resume or cover letter or both. So every job interview you go to, your note topic is going to be something your potential employer is going to want to talk about. So pick something you actually want to have in your life for years to come. 2, make sure you are actually arguing a position in your note and not just talking about a legal issue. Journals want to publish arguments. So it's okay if you don't necessarily know what you want to argue specifically right off the bat, but pick a topic where some kind of argument could be made, and then over time you'll be able to figure out what the argument is. Because again, journals want to publish an argument. They don't want to publish just a discussion of a legal issue that might be interesting. They want both, quite frankly. 3, be aware of the timing of your note. Your topic that you pick cannot be so new and novel that there's nothing upon which you can build. So it can't be so new that there's nothing out there that anyone's written even remotely on it that you can refer to in your article or your note. At the same time, your note topic also can't be so done that you will bring nothing significant to the discussion. So it can be challenging to find the sweet spot in between these two things, not too novel, not too done. But that's exactly what you need to do when you're picking your note topic. So definitely keep those 3 things in mind as you're picking your note topic. So as I said, I'm also going to show you some searches that you can do to help you pick your note topic. So I'm up here on the Lexus Law School homepage. That's where we're going to start our searches. The Lexus Law School homepage is at www.lexusnexus.com/law school. So you always want to sign into the Lexus Law School homepage first because they've got a lot of helpful information there, including my contact information and the contact information for all of your Lexus student reps. But to do our searches, let's go ahead and go directly to Lexus Advanced by clicking the Go to Lexus Advanced button next to the big red search bar. So I'm going to go over 4 types of searches that you can do to kind of get at 4 types of notes that you might write. We're going to look at circuit splits. We're going to look at how you can look at the news. We're going to look at how you can maybe find something in a jurisdiction that interests you. And we're also going to look at new or controversial and interesting legislation that's out there. You could write a note on any one of these things. And there's different searches you can do on Lexus to help you get there. So let's start with circuit splits. So circuit splits are great for notes because they involve unresolved issues that could end up in front of the US Supreme Court. So how do you find a circuit split? Well, you can do the following search in Lexus Advanced to try to find a circuit split. So in the big red search bar, go ahead and type in the word circuit within 2 words of the words split or disagree. So what you're searching for are documents that use the word circuit within 2 words of the word split or the word disagree. And go ahead and click search. So here we have our search results for all documents that use the word circuit within 2 words of the word split or disagree. We care about splits in federal courts, so let's go ahead and take a look at courts. We want to make sure that we look at any splits that could happen at the federal level. So let's actually click all federal. Okay. Because we want to find cases at the federal level where there's circuit splits. These are obviously circuit courts that are federal courts, so that's why we're looking at federal courts. We also want our note topic to be relatively new. Remember, we want to find that sweet spot, not too old, not too new. So let's go ahead and use the timeline narrow function just to search for cases where we might find circuit splits back just about a year and a half or so. So let's just go to January 1st, 2013. Click OK. And then we're going to want to find the newest sources. So let's go ahead and change our sort by newest to oldest, so we see the newest first. And here we've got about 4,500 cases to pick from where we have circuit splits that are being discussed by the court. And again, we want to care about cases where the court is discussing a circuit split because that's going to tell us what the circuit split is, because they're usually going to actually cite to the cases where the split itself happened, if they are not themselves the case with the split. So then we probably will want to narrow these 4,500 cases down by using the search within results option to start searching for cases that actually talk about circuit splits on topics we care about. So let's say we care about class certification for class action cases. Let's go ahead and search for cases that use the word class within 2 words of the word certification. And click enter. Now we're down to about 325 cases. We can just go ahead and keep doing the same thing and just keep narrowing down. With using search within results, we can then type in cases that just use the term class representative. All we care about is class representatives. Enter. Now we're down to about 92 cases. And then we can go ahead and search in the cases to actually find the circuit split that we care about. And I'll just note, some of you might notice we've got these little search term map bars at the top of each of your search results. This is just another really handy, easy way to see where your search terms are turning up. So within the opinion, you can just hover over the little colors here, and if you click on it, we're going to show you right here where your terms are being used in the document. You could go here, click here, see, here's the terms again. Just a handy way that you can navigate documents you're finding. But again, to come back to what you're doing here, what you're doing is you're trying to find federal cases that are talking about circuit splits that you can find a note topic for you to write on. The second type of search you might want to do is using the news as opposed to cases talking about circuit splits. So let's go back to the main research page. So using the news, you might want to see news articles that are talking about cases. You might also want to see news articles that are talking about legislation. Cases and legislation both make really interesting note topics, especially if they're newsworthy and interesting. So this is why you want to use the news to help you out. So let's say you know a case name of a case that you want to write about. So let's go ahead in the red search bar, and let's say you want to write about the Arizona State Legislature versus Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission case from 2015. This was a big case involving redistricting and about whether or not the legislature could do the redistricting or an independent redistricting commission could do the redistricting. So to search for that case being talked about in the news, just go ahead and type in part of the case name you know about. So you know it involves the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission. And then you want to find that case name within 25 words of the word Supreme Court. So we're going to be looking for news articles that are talking about this particular Supreme Court decision. Let's go ahead and click search. And the default is for cases to pop up. In fact, that particular case pops up, but you care about what the news is saying about it. So you're going to want to click on legal news. And then because you want to find the most cutting edge information about this in the news, let's go ahead and sort from newest to oldest. And what this is going to end up showing us are legal news articles discussing the hot button issue of redistricting in the context of this recent Supreme Court case. So these articles may discuss an angle that you could use to expand upon to write your note. So you could do a similar type of thing with legislation. So let's go back to the main research page. If you're trying to find recent legislation out there that's kind of hot button that you could write an article on, and you want a news article to kind of help basically get you started, you can go ahead and type in searching law or legislation or statute within 25 words of the word challenge or lawsuit. So this is going to get you some of those more controversial pieces of legislation that are out there. So let's go ahead and click search. And then again, we're trying to find what the news has to say about this. So let's click on legal news. And again, we really just care about more recent news. So let's only go back a few years. So let's just search for news. Let's say just January 1st, 2014. Then let's go ahead and just look for newest to oldest. And so now we've got a whole bunch of news articles out there from newest to oldest that are discussing pieces of legislation that are somewhat controversial. So now we're going to want to use search then results to start typing in terms for issues that we are particularly interested in so that we can find particular pieces of legislation being discussed in the news that we want to write about. Okay, so then the next type of search we want to do, because we might actually want to write about something going on in a particular jurisdiction. So far we've looked at circuit splits, we've looked at newsworthy cases and legislation. Let's say what we really care about is we really want to write something about something that's going on where we are. So Notre Dame is in Indiana. Indiana is within the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. So let's say you want to write about something that's going on in the 7th Circuit. So to try to find that, let's go back to the main research page. You can simply type in first impression within 25 words of the 7th Circuit. So we're trying to find, we're going to actually look for legal news that's talking about cases of first impression, and we're trying to find articles that are talking about these cases that are going on within the 7th Circuit. And you generally want to type out the full spelling of the number of the circuit, because that's how it's going to be referred to in the news. Go ahead and click search. And then let's just search legal news for this. And we want to find the most recent first, so let's go newest to oldest. Now we've got 261 news articles that are talking about cases of first impression in the 7th Circuit. Then you can start narrowing down by doing search then results to type in key terms that you actually care about writing about. So you'll find things, maybe on class certification again, that there's a case of first impression dealing with that in the 7th Circuit. Okay, so the final type of search and note topic I want to talk about are new, controversial, and interesting pieces of legislation, both at the federal and state level. So earlier we were looking at how to find legislation to write about using the news. Here we can look for interesting pieces of legislation that maybe the news hasn't even picked up on yet, but we're going to actually find the bills themselves that are out there and that have been recently signed into law. Because when you're looking for interesting legislation to write about, you want to make sure you're writing about a bill that's actually been signed into law, because it's quite possible that a bill that's interesting never gets signed into law, and nobody will ever want to pick up your journal article because the issue will be moot because the bill will have died. So we're trying to find recent enacted legislation that's controversial or interesting, either at the federal level or at the state level. So let's look at the federal side of things first. So you don't even need to know a particular bill number. You can just kind of know a basic topic that you want to write about. So let's say you're interested in writing about veterans or service members or something about the armed forces, and federal bills that are out there on that topic. So in the big red search bar, you can just type in veterans or service members or armed forces. Put armed forces in quotes because I want to make sure I find that particular phrase being used just like that, armed before forces. Click enter to search. And then we want to actually find the bills themselves. So click on statutes and legislation. And then we can start narrowing down on the left-hand side of the screen. So we really want to just find federal bills. Let's click on US Federal. And then what we're going to actually search for right now is not the bill text itself. We want to search for the bill tracking because the bill tracking is going to give us information about what's going on with the bill. And you'll see in a minute how we're going to be able to use that to say that we only care about bills that were actually signed into law. And the bill tracking report is going to talk about how they were signed into law in a way that the bill text might not. So let's click on bill tracking. You can always find the bill text itself once you have the bill number from the bill tracking report. So let's click on bill tracking because we're just going to try to find bill tracking reports on bills dealing with veterans or service members or armed forces. And we want the most recent stuff. So let's go ahead and just use the timeline to just search for bills in the past, maybe since 2012. We're going back a little bit further than we have so far because we don't want to be too recent because then the bill may still just be pending, but we don't want to go back too far. So if we go back to 2012, we're going to probably capture a decent number of bills that are recent but have actually been signed into law. Let's click OK. The other thing you want to do, and it's actually probably the most important thing using search then results, is you're going to want to type in signed by the president, in quotes there, click search, because this is going to just show you the bill tracking reports that indicate that the bill was actually signed by the president, which indicates that it actually has become a law. So these are the bills that you may actually want to write about. You can use the same sort of process when looking for state legislation. Let's go back to the main research page. Let's say you just care about the topic of marijuana. Just type in marijuana into the search bar. Go ahead and click on statutes and legislation. This time, instead of clicking US Federal for jurisdiction, let's say we care about what's going on with marijuana in Colorado. Again, we want to just search for bill tracking reports because we just want to find those bills that were actually signed by the governor, so signed into law. Let's just search for more recent bills. So let's just go to January 1st, 2012. Okay. And then just like we did before with search then results, let's do signed by governor instead of the president because the governor is going to be the executive signing for the bill in the state. Click search. We've got about 53 bills here dealing with marijuana in Colorado in the last few years that we might be able to write a note on. So you can write about circuit splits. You can use the news to help you write on cases or legislation. You can pick topics in a particular jurisdiction you want to write about, or you can find legislation maybe the news hasn't picked up on yet, both at the federal level or the state level, just by finding certain bills that you want to write on. So that's really what I've got for you on note selection. There's obviously other ways you can search for notes, but these are probably going to get you going at a pretty good pace in the beginning here. So the next step after you've picked your topic or gotten close to picking your topic is you want to make sure that your topic has not actually already been written on by somebody else. If somebody else has written on your topic, then you're going to be preempted, which means journals are not going to publish an article that has already been written on. So you want to find a topic that can be original. And to figure out whether or not your article is original, you need to do a preemption check. So in that sense, preemption checking really is the most important part of the publication process because it's going to assure that the note that you write is original. You either have or soon will be receiving an email from either myself or one of the people on your editorial board giving you options of dates and times to sign up for one of these one-on-one preemption checks. So just make sure that you sign up for one of those time slots. If you missed that time period, get in touch with me. My contact information is on the Lexus Law School homepage, and we can either call or do a phone call or meet in person, and I can do a preemption check meeting with you. They last about 20 minutes or so. But actually at that meeting, we'll go into a lot more detail about how preemption checks go, but let me just give you a little sneak preview about what they are. So first, it helps to talk about what it means to be preempted. You are preempted if you find a relatively recent article that makes the same argument and comes to the same conclusion as you, and one, you can't or don't want to argue the opposite side, or two, the other article covers every aspect of your topic. So that's when you are preempted. And we'll talk about that more at our one-on-one meeting. So what do you do in a preemption check? How do you figure out if you're preempted or not? Well, you can do a preemption check in many ways, but two of the most common ways are to do either a term preemption check or a Shepard's preemption check. So with a term preemption check, what you're doing is you're thinking about a term that another article would absolutely have to use if they were to preempt your article. And then you actually search that term in Lexus, and you search for other law reviews and other law review articles and journal articles that use that term. Then you take a look at those articles and see if they really do truly preempt you. The other way you can do a preemption check is to do a Shepard's preemption check. So this works if you know you're going to be focusing on a particular case or statute in your article. What you do is you look up that case or statute, you Shepardize that case or statute, and as you know in a Shepard's report, you can look for cases that cite to your case, you can look for cases that cite to your statute, you can look for law review articles that cite to your case or statute. That's what you care about here. You're going to look in the Shepard's report for law review articles that cite to your case or statute. Because what you're doing is you're thinking about because you're focusing so carefully on a particular case or statute, if another law review article is going to preempt you, they're necessarily going to have cited to that case or statute, and you find them using a Shepard's report. So these are the ways that we're going to take a look at whether or not you're preempted when we meet. So I know that was a lot of information, but hopefully you have some good hints now on what things to take into consideration before you actually pick your note topic, some good searches to use when you're trying to pick a note topic, and then finally you have a little bit of a sense of what preemption checking is, and you know how to reach me to make sure that we do a one-on-one preemption check. So just know, though, all along the way, you're not alone. You can always reach out to me, your Lexus student reps, or you can call our Lexus 24/7 hotline at 1-800-45-LEXUS for assistance, or use our online chat service by clicking Live Support from the More drop-down menu on Lexus Advance. So you see you've got a lot of tools at your disposal to help you. And that hotline and the online chat service, those are staffed by research attorneys who can help you do searches. So I hope that was all helpful to you. Make sure that you do the quiz accompanying this video. Once you do, you will be able to receive 200 Lexus points. You will then receive a link to a follow-up quiz, which if you do that correctly, will give you your other 200 points for a total of 400 points. Just know that you can earn points from coming to trainings, running searches on Lexus, and doing table tips with Lexus tables all throughout the semester. And these points can really add up quickly and be used for things like Amazon gift cards. So definitely a good thing to take advantage of. So again, I hope that was helpful for you. You know how to reach me if you have any questions. I look forward to meeting with you at one-on-one preemption checks. Again, congratulations on making it on the journal, and good luck.